Okay, so welcome to this introduction to provisioning in a box configuration. I'm going to walk through how easy it is to configure an integrator within the Wavebreaker software appliance. And this is the same for every integrator that ships with the appliance. The steps are the same, the information that's required is the same, relevant to that platform that you're integrating with. So all the functionality via the appliance is driven through a menu system. I'm going to go to the Configure Integrators screen, and what we see is a list of existing platforms that are configured via the Wavebreaker software integrator. So we see one here for Active Directory, and typically all our customers would use the Active Directory integrator as a sort of starting point, and there are two reasons for that. One is obviously Active Directory is very common, and the other is it allows you to very quickly discover Active Directory accounts, show orphan accounts, accounts that have never been used, accounts that have never been logged in, or they may have been logged in but are now disabled or have expired, etc., etc. But also take the feed, if you like, the real-time information from Active Directory and use it to provision to other platforms. So it's a very powerful starting point and allows you to get up and running with the appliance very quickly. So what I'm going to do here is add a new integrator. I'm going to choose Office 365. We see a list there of integrators that ship with the appliance. Office 365 is one of them. And now I'm going to add my tenanted name on the Office 365 system. Take a copy of that. The target path, we're just going to provide an @ sign here. And then the account, we're looking for an administration account relative to the actions that are required by the integrator. So for Office 365, we do full account management and discovery. So this would be the admin account. We do an insert, and effectively that's the integrator configured. It's as simple as that. From this point on, we can now open up the functionality of that integrator via the other menu functions in the appliance. And the first port of call really is to do some discovery against that new platform. So we go to the Perform Discovery screen. We now see Office 365 has appeared as an option. All the integrators relate to an option within here. So for each integrator, we have a discovery action as well. You can obviously discover across all of them. I'm just going to use Office 365 here. So what I'm doing is discovering out against the Office 365 system in the cloud. And what I'm pulling back is the account information. So their username, whether their account is disabled, the date it was disabled, whether their account is currently licensed, and whether they have a flag set that makes the password to never expire, sets the password to non-expiry effectively, which may be something you want to report on. So from this point on, we can now see those accounts that exist out there in the cloud. And we can now take on management of these accounts direct from this interface by selecting the relevant row, clicking Disable, clicking Enable, clicking Delete, etc., etc. This makes the call out to the cloud and performs that action. Okay, so we've just disabled this account here. Now if you have a multi-tenanted system, so the sparklec.onmicrosoft.com domain in this example may actually have a more user-friendly domain name, we would show those accounts as well. So you would see the multiple domain names within this system, allowing you to manage them through this one interface. So we've done the discovery. You can export this information out to CSV and obviously print it off or keep it in your records or use it somewhere, however you want to use it. But we can now also begin to provision. So there are three sort of main functions within the provisioning menu. Account creation for obviously creating new accounts, termination for disabling those accounts, and the account management for basically onboarding people who already exist in the system. And you may have just bought online a new platform like we just have, and you may wish a person in your system to now go and use that platform. So you're not creating a new user per se within your other infrastructure or your other integrators. You're actually just provisioning an existing user to a new platform. So that menu function supports that ability. What I'm going to step through here is actually an account creation workflow. So now we have a new integrator in Office 365. We can now add new people to it. So what we see here is a list of target systems that are configured within the system. So Active Directory, Office 365, and actually I'm showing a person record here. So we could just be creating an actual person record within the Wavebreaker appliance itself. And typically we would do that where we didn't currently have a feed from HR or we're processing AD as the source of HR information. We'd automate the creation of what we call essentially a person record. So it's if you imagine the HR entity record within the Wavebreaker appliance. I don't need to do that here. I'm just going to demonstrate Office 365. So I'm going to add a new record. So I could be pulling a feed in from HR here, CSV feed, or I could be pulling it directly from AD accounts. I'm just going to manually enter the information here, just for sake of ease. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in this information, and depending really on the integrator, depends on the amount of information I need to put in here. As far as Office 365 is concerned, that's pretty much all I need to put in. Yeah, I mean, I don't even need a description, to be honest. I'm not currently tying this back to an account in Active Directory or within our person record. If I was, I would be using the account manage screen, and that would show me all those people that had been provisioned, that had existed with a person record, and I could just pick up their details and provision them out to the new platform. This is a brand new account going out just into the Office 365 environment and nowhere else. So I can now begin to choose dynamic password or complex password, the password length, or I can override it with a manual password, which is what I'm going to do here. Select some placement rules which do not apply, and select naming conventions which do apply, and then provision the account. So again, we're calling the API, the Office 365 API, and creating that account directly within the domain in Office 365. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. See, this is the account we've created. If we perform a discovery now, we'll rebuild that information. There's no need to do this, but just for sanity's sake, just to check that the provisioning action has functioned correctly, and it must have done because that account would not appear in that list if it hadn't, but we're just going to do and here we go, we see it here. So we're now seeing that it is not licensed, and the password never expires is set to false, but it has been created, so that person can log in. We have to make them aware of that password, obviously, and we have a workflow to do that, where the user can actually discover their own password or reset their own password dynamically to a one-time password, and allows them to then log into that infrastructure online. And that is essentially how we configure, provision, and manage the user accounts in the Office 365 infrastructure. Thank you very much.